ethical people. Oh, Ibrahima is back.
I'm,
Can you
I'm,
hear
I'm
me
so
now?
sorry. I'm getting a lot of unnecessary calls. I'm trying to reject them. And
Maybe you can put your
Maybe,
phone on air. Is it is it airplane mode or whatever?
yeah, now what I will do now is to use my tablet to connect.
laptop.
Then I will
Yeah.
connect all the phones.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
Okay.
you're a busy man. Now the question that I started asking Mrs. Sillah was that on the 5th and 6th of this month, March,
Yes.
5th and 6th, there was a meeting at the State House, a forum that was organized
Hmm.
uh, between the stakeholders, the contractors, and consultants. And the
Yes.
president in his deliberation indicated that in spite of or despite the budgetary constraints, that there
Hmm.
was need for collaboration or
Yes.
cooperation between the consultants and the contractors
Hmm.
for and so a timely completion of projects, because delays in completion of projects would cost the government more. Now, what I took from that are two things: budgetary constraints and collaboration to ensure timely completion. Do we have budgetary issues to be able to complete projects that government is has taken on? And are we having problem with the timely conclusion of projects that have been undertaken by the government?
No, not actually. We are not having any problems in terms of the projects. Remember that most of these projects that President referred to, actually we call them legacy projects. These are projects that, for example, the OIC 50 kilometers, to be specific, where we have 50 kilometers of roads that we are doing in the Greater Banjul area. And these, of course, are heavily built communities where there have never been any town planning, or even if there was, at a very, very minimal or substandard stage. Therefore, the utility services like the water and electricity, and also the GAMTEL poles, and also the GAMTEL cables have been laid in these areas. But most of these service providers themselves don't even know, because they don't have a map, an up-to-date map of some of these infrastructures where they are laid. Therefore, when we are building these roads, we are not only demolishing compounds and structures that are on the right of way, because when these places were demarcated, the actual size of the road that they were given, I think, was 6 meters and not more than 7 meters. And for us to be able to do this type of good roads, we need to have a minimum of 10 meters or 11 meters, because the road will be 7 meters, and then on each side 1.5 meters to have the footpath, but also another, 1 meter to have NAWEC and GAMTEL services on either side of the road. So therefore, wherever there is a substantial delay, it is because, one, we are engaged in demolition exercises, and in some cases, in this country, a lot of things are heavily contested territories. And sometimes people will resist, some will go to court. So you have to stop and go through that process. And then when you finalize those processes, then you start the demolition again. Interestingly, because these are heavily built societies and communities, and they have been there for decades before these infrastructures actually came in, what we are having as a biggest problem is that pipes are laid all over, and for contractors to have a right of way to be able to work effectively and efficiently and with the speed that is indeed envisaged in the contract, the services have to be relocated. And that takes a lot of time, because it is like us now building a brand new infrastructure for both GAMTEL, for their fiber underground, and also the NAWEC for their electricity and water. You can see that wherever we are having these projects, we are bringing in new electricity poles, we are bringing in new water infrastructure, the state of the art, the latest ones, so that on either side of the road, if you have a compound there and you want to, get these services, you don't have to cut the road again on the other side of the road to get the services to you. So that is one of the contributions. Even the Saudi fund that is actually funding these projects has acknowledged the controversies, but also the difficult intricacies involved in doing an infrastructure in a community that is already built. So that is one of our main problems. But so far, alhamdulillah, we can say by grace of God that in most of the projects, they are beyond 24% going to 30%, especially for the 50 kilometers. And we have had some very good discussions with the Saudi fund, the funder, so that more time can be allocated to these people to finalize this, because it is easy to do the roads. And remember, the roads also come with drainage. They are also coming with solar lighting, for the streets. So therefore, I mean, in order to do a proper job, we have to ensure that the roads are well built and that the quality is not compromised.
Well, Mr. Sillah, I know your ministry is works.
I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you very well. Yes, your I know your portfolio is works, transportation, and infrastructure, but you sit in cabinet. And at the 8th cabinet meeting, which was held at the State House on the 24th of last month, the Minister of Trade had informed you about the stocks and price levels for basic commodities in the country. And now we are getting into Ramadan. Now, all of a sudden, this is the NPP network. This is not a UDP network. Yeah. But Mose, what's your take on this ethics and the need for it to be taught? How early should it be taught in our schools? If we have to, I believe we need to have a serious break from the past and how we do things and the unethical behavior of mostly public officials to be able to move our country forward.
I mean, without a doubt. Now, I am not sure whether. Now, I remember us, old people like us, you and me.
Oh no, no.
When we started, even at the primary level, we used to have a civic education.
Yes.
I mean, that gets into issues like a good citizen and a passive citizen, and those kind of things. So there's absolutely no doubt that maybe bringing back civic education that will include things like ethics, that will include things like what it means to be a Gambian. I think it's a start. No doubt it is a start. So I guess you guys are basically saying the reason why we have unethical behavior in government, I mean, not only in government, but even in our private lives, I mean, maybe that has something to do with the culture. It's not there. And obviously, giving the education at the primary level, maybe even at the nursery level, maybe that would be a start to how to at least tackle some of these unethical behaviors. But again, I think there's a lot more to be done than just that. Public accountability, those kind of things. I think it's really a combination of things. I mean, if you have an unethical behavior and people see that people are getting away with it, let's say if I'm a private businessman, for instance, and I know that the people that are winning the contracts, the people that are doing extremely well, the rich that are amassing wealth.
You see this man here?
Are the folks, Paga.
Talking about Ramadan is here. This the Kabunkas biggest nakalatura nightmare. So he's bragging about Ramadan. But
so
yeah, sorry about that.
there's absolutely no doubt that yes, there's a need for the education, but there is also the need for when people realize that having unethical behavior, there is no reward to it, and it reinforces that. But if the reward is out there, the more unethical you are, the people that are most unethical are the ones that are kind of winning on a day-to-day basis. What the hell? I'm not going to play by the rules if I know for a fact that so Mr. Sillah, you back? Now the lamp on because it looks like so yeah, I mean without a doubt, Pasamba, I think there is a link on the idea of I mean the culture of unethical behavior among us that plays a vital role. I mean, and again, you know, starting teaching, reinforcing that culture of what it means to be a good citizen. That's absolutely no doubt. I don't think that it's a bad idea at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
affaire Nadal.
yeah,
Affaire Nadal. You know. Mr. Sil, you're
Um,
back.
so, so is it Nawek or just the usual?
No, actually, it's very strange. When I got a call, it actually stops everything, and then I'm trying to get to your system, and it was telling me I have to get system authorization from the I mean
Gaitan.
the administrator.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, but now you can hear me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
So
hear
the
you now.
question you I was asking is,
Okay,
I know
okay,
that you are your portfolio is Minister of Infrastructure,
all right.
Transportation and
But I can't
Works.
see Pa Samba and the rest.
Yeah, but can you hear me? No, Mos, you go ahead and ask your question so
Okay,
that.
Ibama, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, all right. Then let me go with my question. I guess we need to ask the big ones because it looks like the internet is not cooperating. Um,
Well,
Sisla, I was listening to Lamin Mane on Kirfatu,
yes.
and if there is
Mm-hmm.
one thing that he kept emphasizing, and I'm sure most Gambians
Mm-hmm.
are, they're saying that for this current government, you guys are
Yes.
selling our strategic assets. And his question is, why are they basically, whether you're talking about the Senegambia Bridge, there's a lot of talk about the Ports Authority, concessions upon concessions. There's a lot of talk about Gamtel Gamsend. Can you tell us what is the rationale, Gambia being a poor country, for selling these strategic assets? Mr. Silla. Mm. Internet bidal mom tamit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we really need to invest
Mr.
in our
Silla,
infrastructure. So,
so did you hear the question?
no.
Did you hear the question?
Well, I think let us put
Saying I'm kind of running out of what is there that we can do now? I mean, maybe have them go audio. I don't know. So maybe doing the voice might be better if he can, or to call him. Somebody is suggesting to call him via WhatsApp.
Yeah, I mean, whatever should work. But you know,
Yeah.
I think probably they're calling him on his phone. That is interrupting his thing. Because if he has an iPad and he has an iPhone and he synchronized both, if the call comes in,
Right.
it's going to interrupt the iPad as
No, but
well. So,
this one, it looks like, I mean, you can see the thing kind of, it looks like
spinning.
more, yeah, spinning. It's more like an internet issue. Miss call. You miss a call from. Oh yeah, let me see here. Okay.
You can call him and put him on speakerphone. That way he can answer the questions if he wants.
Yeah, Grandma, it looks like the internet is not cooperating. Do you think maybe we should do WhatsApp? Maybe. Yeah. So let missing.
Mr. Sarian.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So when you call, then you're gonna call my line, and then
Yeah,
we
I
just
think we
do,
really need serious infrastructural
yeah,
developments
let's do that. Okay.
in our country.
So
That we will be able to, you know.
so Pat Samba, I guess we're going to do it on WhatsApp, and then I'll put him on
Speaker.
on speaker. Hello, Ibrahim, Minister Sillah.
Yes, I can hear you now. I think there is a problem also with your stream card or StreamYard, because anytime I want to come in, it boots me out. So I guess maybe because I've connected several times.
So guys, can you hear him?
Yeah, we can hear him loud and clear.
So Minister Sillah, I don't know whether did you hear my question?
Yes, I heard your question where you were asking why we are selling state assets.
Exactly. What is the argument behind the selling of these strategic assets? Clearly, I mean, some of the opposition believe that you guys are mortgaging our assets. Huh?
No, you see, it is unfortunate that some of the people that are saying this may be doing this because of political reasons, or they don't totally understand what they are saying. Because PPPs are a new forms of mechanisms that governments are using around the world to make inefficient state institutions work better and efficiently and effectively for the good of the nations. I mean, you are in the United States of America. Tell me one company that is 100% owned by the United States government that is serving, public, that is doing public service. If you look at your telecom service, it's completely, privatized, or almost. The government's there is to ensure that there is policy, clarity on the provision of ICT services. If you look at even the aviation industry, the government's role in it is to ensure that there is policy clarity for purpose of effective competition. If you look at the ports, even the state where you are in Atlanta, you will see that the state of Atlanta may be a shareholder in some of these facilities that you have. Tell me, for example, in one country in West Africa, Gambia and Guinea-Bissau, where the states are in control of the ports. You cannot, for example, you have the Dubai Port Wall, you have the Saudi Red Sea Gate, you have Al-Barak, and all the others in this port. You have Hill Port. These are multi-million-dollar companies have years of experience in operating ports. Do you think the Gambia Ports Authority, with a meager resource, can even compete with these big players to divert traffic to the Gambia? No, it is not possible. That is why it is extremely difficult sometimes to compete with these countries, because the state is totally in control of this.
So
for the state, to deliver.
It's reconnecting.
So even the regular internet, regular WhatsApp calls to you having the same issue.
Yeah. So if you look at the airports in the region, for example, apart from the Gambia, even Guinea-Bissau of all places, Guinea-Conakry of all places, Senegal had done it a long time ago. Mauritania has done it. Niger has done it. Nigeria, with its oil resources and other oil-rich countries, Ghana, they have all done it. They partnered with private sector to bring in the much needed investment to modernize their services and also their infrastructure. So it is really heartening and also sad that some of these people who are talking to unsuspecting Gambians are coming from very illogical backgrounds, telling people things that they don't know much about, or they are deliberately doing this to misinform the people. But more importantly, Musa, it is in fact in their manifestos that they are going to support the private sector to lead in some of these things that the Gambia government is doing right now. So I just don't know what they are criticizing about.
But Ibrahima, the person who is making this accusation, here is someone, a professional, works for the African Development Bank. He knows this stuff. He went further. He said, for instance, going back to the Senegambia Bridge, which supposedly there was $200 million that the government was going to get today. And the understanding was, most Gambians, that was the first time we hear about this asset recycling, that 200 million would have been gotten now and would be invested in a revenue generating project. Now, can you tell us, where are we with that? And secondly, during the budget speech, we heard from the Minister of Finance that 15 million was already taken out of that. 15 million is already being invested, not in a revenue generating area, but in the budget for administrative reasons. So he's basically saying, look,
that is not true.
But let me just, I want to tell you, I just want to.
Mr. Mane made that scandalous statement, and it is not true. That money has still not even arrived in the country. Let's talk less of spending it. When you are preparing a budget and you are presenting a budget, you are making, a futuristic plan of your spending, plan for the year. And there is nowhere in the budget where they said this money was going to be spent on administrative issues. That is an outrageous statement, and it is not true.
That is why, for the people, by the people, we want things to be clear. That is why we want to have you both, Mane, my brother from Kaur, and yourself, so that we can then we can look at these issues, because but there is one thing.
None of us are there to take him on some of these outrageous statements. So bring him on board, and then we debate. I'm not afraid of being on the same platform. Talk on facts.
Now somebody saying somebody didn't say that. He said that because I saw it on Kerfatu. Now the other thing that he said was,
if he didn't say that, the thing is, I think politicians, no matter how hungry we are, to discredit government processes, we should always stick to the facts.
The other
has nothing in misleading the public on sensitive issues, but critical economic policy issues like what we are talking about.
So the other argument that he was making was, if you look at the Senegambia Bridge, at the end of the 25 years, we would have realized $300 million, much more than what we are getting now. And secondly, just was it last week, the minister at the National Assembly did indicate that we were able to generate $1.2 billion from the Senegambia Bridge. So what is wrong with us, like government, coming in and running the bridge? Wouldn't it be better, or do you think the PPP. Can you make your argument why we are better off giving it to somebody else and not the government actually running it efficiently?
This is not just, no, let me clarify this. Because the Africa 50 is not just somebody else. Africa 50 is co-owned by the Gambia government. Okay? It's an institution set up by the African Development Bank, under the auspices of African, shareholders to, work on the infrastructure and to partner with African governments to manage efficiently their infrastructure. You know that the governments all over the world are not as good as private sector in managing. That is why this institution was set up to work with African governments. So it is not just an ordinary or any other, person coming in and manage. The Gambia government owns a share in Africa 50. So if they are here to work with the Gambia government to bring in efficiency in management because of their, long-term experience in managing infrastructure and also the efficiencies, aspect that has to be put in it, I see no reason why that should not be promoted.
Sariang, you want to come in? I'm not sure whether he'll hear you, but go ahead.
Yeah. Are you done with your questioning?
I mean, I just wanted to give you guys.
I can hear you, sir. I can hear you. Sir.
No, he can hear you.
Okay. All right, Honorable Minister, I'm just going back to, I just want clarification. If I understand you correctly, when you were talking to Coach, you were suggesting that the issue in regards to, moving folks and folks complaining, it's due to poor planning. And if the government, would you not agree, if the government has a vision for this project, why hasn't your ministry, the Ministry of Justice, and other relevant departments conduct pre-planning regarding utility issues, land ownership, including possible eminent domain issues, before initiating the project? Don't you think this would have allowed you to address some of the foreseeable issues you expressed and avoid them altogether?
Well, let me tell you that before you embark on this type of project, road construction generally, before you start, road construction, you do a whole lot of pre-feasibility, then, feasibility studies, and then you do a lot of surveys and a whole lot of things come out. But let me tell you, even the owners of these infrastructures that we are talking about, Naweg and Gamtel, in so many areas, they don't even have an up-to-date map. That's what I'm telling you, an up-to-date map of where these infrastructures are laid, because some of these infrastructures were laid, more than 30 years back. The water infrastructure, the electricity, and also the fiber infrastructure. In some of these communities, they were there in the urban areas more than 30 years. So really, by that time, I think, planning was not as advanced as we are seeing today, where you can have 3D and then, store these things and archive them in a way that, they can be there for years and years and years to come. And then, just a click of the button on your system, you will just see exactly where each of these infrastructures are. Unfortunately, that was not the case. In some cases, I can tell you, we even use the services of retired NAWEC staff to guide us. I can give you an example. In Canifing, for example, when we were working there, we never realized that the live cable that is powering the Independence Stadium was under the buildings, going to the Independence Stadium. So we had to stop work. It took us nearly 3 months to actually, move that particular cable and then, relocate it to the main line so that, the works will not be disrupted for that long. So these are some of the, challenges that you have. And it's not peculiar to the Gambia. I can tell you, I did, some option study tours to 3 other countries in Africa where this type of road infrastructure projects are taking place, in the urban areas, in the urban setting.
Okay. Is it still there?
Nice.
In some of those places, there have been a number of variations. There have been, severe delays, and also, a lot of issues in the project. So the Gambia is not peculiar in this. I can tell you, go and ask anyone when they were doing the OIC Dakar projects. Some of the projects were delayed for nearly 2.5 years to 3 years, especially in built communities in Dakar. That is why even after the OIC projects, more and more roads were being done in Senegal, because planning being what it is, you can have the best of study. So you have to improve on your plans and also your designs.
Okay. Sorry, he's done. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. All right. So Mr. Sillah, I understand the planning. I think in terms of project initiation and project management, planning and reaching out to
can you hear me?
And reaching out to stakeholders
is not very clear.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, Sarian.
Yeah, so Mr. Sillah, I understand the comparison, but in any project management domain, the initiation and planning, actually the planning takes the bigger part of the overall rollout. Now, my question to you is, you articulated the issues. I get it. They don't have the map, the updated maps. But I'm looking for a resolution here. Now, the landowners are big stakeholders of this whole project. And even in the modern world, the stakeholders have a say. They had meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings. I understand for us here, I work for a utility company. We wanted to roll out the main transmission lines. That's going to go over people's house, even though it's a federal mandated requirement. But we have to talk to the stakeholders because they own those lines and they felt that there's some type of safety issues about those. But what I'm trying to get here is, what is the government doing about it moving forward? Not that the institutions don't have the updated map. We get that part. But now, what are you guys doing in terms of, because these are Gambians, they own these lands, what are they doing to avoid such issues in the future?
Well, is to reinforce urban planning steps to ensure that our roads are clearly mapped, and that infrastructure is prepared in a way that when you are going to deploy the infrastructure, all the critical stakeholders of the government are involved. And the good thing is that now we have what we call the Road Reserve Committee. Now, this Road Reserve Committee, what it does is every 2 weeks or every month, they sit and discuss about all new planning and also infrastructure deployment. You have the GAMTEL on that committee, you have the private sector there, you have NAWEC there, you have my ministry there, you have the National Road Authority there, and also you have the Ministry of Local Government and Lands, because they are the ones that actually the physical planning will have to, or the Department of Lands will do the allocation of lands. We have Department of Surveys there, we have Department of Physical Planning in this committee, and we also have the Ministry of Finance, because they also have to provide the funding for projects, but also if there are to be demolition exercises. So now we have this very good functional government working system, a working committee that actually sits on this, and it is not only in urban areas, but also across the country, so that we ensure that when we are deploying infrastructure, they don't interfere with the road corridor, but that also there is adequate space between yards or compounds and the road reserve.
Thank you. Coach, go ahead.
There should be adequate space between the yards. Ibrahima, you are the Minister of Infrastructure and Construction.
Yes.
As we speak now,
Yes.
Your government has undertaken a project of clearing the roads, if you want to call it that. A lot of people have applauded this, that it was necessary. But there are so many people, old people, our mothers who sell in the streets to be able to sell their kids to school, to put food on the table. I've watched numerous videos. There's a lady in Banjul who prompted people raising funds for her. I saw another video in KM when they went there to say for the implementation of the policy, and having this lady say, you know what, the KMC people ask us to be here until noon so that we can leave. These are people who have nowhere else to go. That's what they will tell you. We have nowhere else to go. But I've seen them being forced to pack their things to go, meaning as soon as they pack their things, that's the end of them having to sell anything to put food on the table for their families. The Ramadan is here. The hardship is going to happen.
Yes.
What is your government doing practically to make sure, yes, we will clear the roads, but we'll also provide them with a space where they will be able to continue to sell their produce and make ends meet for their families?
Okay, thank you so much for this question. Indeed, as a state or as a government, we are what we call a living government. You know, we empathize with you know, in the streets.
Mm-hmm. It looks like every time I ask a question, there is something wrong with this. I think Musajang has a lot to do with this.
That question today good at Sakantuma Sariang. You can go to Kayaf and come back, and he's still.
Oh, yours not? You have to quote a whole book and a whole show to be able to get to your question, and then 16 follow-up questions to one question.
Why this Roman Mangi? I allow Sariang to come in. Who are you? Mr. Sillah.
And at the end of the day, also, we have to understand that safety of those people that also sit on the roads to sell their wares is also the responsibility of the government. When we have done the clearing of the roads, which is, of course, a multi-stakeholder effort, we have seen how easy it was to move around. Now, what government has decided to do now is to provide a central place for a lot of these people in different areas in the Greater Banjul area where this problem is most pronounced, especially for women sellers and those family owners who actually go around to look for their daily bread on the streets, is to ensure that we provide them a central place to sell. And one area that is earmarked is a market that is already built and is not used on the Brusubi phase 2 going to the Brusubi roundabout. Government, in fact, cleared this place. Discussions are ongoing to ensure that we ameliorate the suffering of some of those people who have nowhere to sell. But importantly also, you've quoted the KMC that they gave these people up to a day to go and sell. That is their responsibility. They should provide markets for the residents of the municipalities that they head. It will be hypocritical for the leadership of the KMC, knowing that there is traffic obstruction all over in the KMC or in other parts of the urbanized regions of this country, to give a false narration to women sellers when it is their responsibility to ensure that these services are provided to the people. The KMC is earning monthly or yearly more than any other ministry's allocation in this country. You journalists should go and ask them, what are they doing with those money? What have they done to ensure that some of these things that we are talking about are not prevalent in our country? This is an eyesore anywhere. But as a central government, as a responsible government, we have decided that we have to provide a central place to these people so that they can earn a living. Unfortunately, some of these councils whose responsibility it is to provide markets, as near thing as market, to the people so that they can earn their living, are sleeping on the wheel. And this is the truth.
Sleeping on the wheel, that people should ask those institutions where the monies are being spent that they are collecting. NAWEC has received hundreds of millions of dollars since 2017. We have heard everything that you can see. But yet still, I don't think where we are at a level where people will be satisfied. Yes, they will tell you that there are not so many cuts. But again, sometimes what may be good to you is based on what your realities are. We have serious electricity problem in that country, and the amount of money that is being spent to pay car powership, to pay Senelec, to be able to help us with electricity. Will the government of the Gambia also tell us where they have invested the monies that have come to that country since the change, as it regards to NAWEC?
Of course, I don't want to drift into other issues that are not, naturally the domain of the Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure. But
you see, what you see in cabinet. So, Ibrahima, you sit in cabinet, and I know you know these issues.
No, I just want to tell you that
yes,
that government spends, especially either loan or grants on government on NAWEC, it's a matter of public knowledge, and all these things have always been broadcast and published all over. That you would always hear that this is what NAWEC got and this is what they are going to use it for. You have just seen that the president inaugurated the new solar power project, which is going to provide about 23 megawatts into the grid. And hopefully before the end of this year, another 150 megawatts of solar project the foundation stone will be laid, so that at the appropriate time that also will be supplied into the grid, and then we can even sell through the West Africa power pool, to other countries in the region. And also in the North Bank region, I think additional 50 megawatts is being planned. So the Gambia is marching very fast. We are leapfrogging to that stage where we want to have energy efficiency, but also, energy is provided to each and every community in this country at affordable cost. Yes, as you said, so much money has been spent on NAWEC. But let's ask ourselves, where did this government found NAWEC? In a very deplorable situation. Sometimes electricity was only for 5-6 hours a day. The overhead cables that were laid a long time ago, were not efficient enough. There was so much leakage in terms of, the electricity going through some of these very old cables. Now, under the electricity restoration, project that NAWEC is spearheading, some of these transformers are changing, some of these lines have been changed, to ensure that there's efficiency in the system, and that, electricity is provided to other areas that actually have never had electricity before. This thing will take time, because we have found a situation with NAWEC that really was a very sad state of affairs. So really, from 2017 to now, those Gambians that are here will really tell you that NAWEC has really changed from that very bad, sloppy situation to a gradual, improvement, to a point now that sometimes a whole day you don't have electricity off. Sometimes it can be bad, especially when there have been trips in other places. But the good thing is government is working spiritedly to ensure that some of these challenges are resolved.
Yeah. Minister Sillah.
Yes, sir.
Talking about the KMC mayor, I was just looking at.
I don't want to discuss. I
don't
want to discuss other politicians when they are not on this program.
Yeah, no.
If you want me to talk about KMC,
but hold on.
Bring him on this program and let him and I sit and discuss about each other's efforts in terms of what we are doing for the people of this country. No. But if you ask me about KMC mayor, he's
no. But
he cannot answer what I
but
Mr.
Sillah, Minister Sillah.
Bring him on board this
But
program,
wait,
sir.
but you gotta. I don't know whether your surwa is that good. Balanga imbek ta mga kablumi walis. Let me ask the question first. Looking at his Facebook, this is what he said. He said, why does the 6-lane OIC Battle Hiding Highway seem slower than when it was 2-lane, the predecessor? And it says, design flawed, question mark. And there were comments, somebody like Sidi Jame, well known. And what he said was, design flawed it is, plagued with environmental, he said, what do you expect from a flawed contract award process? In other words, look, the Battle Hiding Highway, I was in Gambia. Most people, definitely, it's a hell of an infrastructural development. I mean, what you see is what you see. It's true. But some are saying there are design flaws. What do you say to that?
Well, the road is not yet complete, Musa. In fact, in normal situations, providing such an infrastructure, you will wait until it is completely finished before you can use it. But Battle Harden is being built in a heavily congested community. Therefore, you have to start building the road, people use it, and then you navigate your way through until you completely finish it. We have Battle Harden Phase 1, we have Battle Harden Phase 2, and we have Battle Harden Phase 3. Therefore, you know that when this road was not built, the traffic count, the number of people, let me just be as simple as possible, the number of people that were using that road were not as much as what we are witnessing today. If you look at communities in Sanyang, in Jambanjeli, coming to Jambur, Latria, all the way to Jabang, and then you look at Brikama coming all the way to Farato and Kusumbala, most of these people now, Yundum, and also in some cases even Lameng, they all now are converging on Battle Harden. And the traffic count that we have done, just a few weeks ago, shows that Battle Harden has overshoot in terms of traffic, traffic usage by more than 180%. So you can imagine the number of people that are actually using Battle Harden. It is like, for example, in the Rock 4, when you're going to Banjul and then use the Kalinding Highway all the way to Westfield, you would see that, sometimes you can be in that traffic for almost 1 hour, almost 1 hour, 30 minutes. Because, and this is a 2-lane. If it was a 1-lane thing, what would happen is that people would, just come from every direction and join the lane. And then what was seen as very slow, it is going to be slower because the road is not finished. At the traffic roundabouts, at the roundabouts along the Battle Harden, a lot of people are complaining about, the congestion there. But go there yourself, Father Mos. You live in the United States. You are used to driving on, motorways that also have, roundabouts. Or in towns that also have roundabouts. In the United Kingdom, I think they call them islands. All right? You know that traffic rules are respected, and then, you have what you call the right of way if you are using the roundabout. Unfortunately, in this country, sad to say, everybody will come and converge on the roundabout and nobody will give way to anyone. Now, those vehicles also, that, for example, if you are coming from Senegambia and you are going towards Sukuta Johnson, those vehicles, even the passenger vehicles, that should actually use the bridge, or that should actually go up. Let me say it that way. They are not doing that. Instead, what are they doing? All these big trucks and the gelegeles, the passenger vehicles, taxi drivers, hardly they will use the overpass. What they will do is that they will come under place, even pick up passengers from there, because that's where people will also be standing and then try to wait for their vehicles. Some of them are old, and they are saying that their vehicles, the brake system is not good enough for them to use the overpass. So, these are challenges that are not the fault of the Ministry of Transport Works and Infrastructure or the builders of the road. Unfortunately, many people don't know how to use, roundabouts in this country. So there is a huge need for sensitization and also reorientation of road users in this country.
But there is one thing that is really hovering over this government, fairly or unfairly, is that most of our problems is rooted in corruption. I mean, you can even see when they talk about, I mean, this design, supposedly design flawed, they're saying shrouded in corruption. When you talk about project A or project...
making those allegations, let me come here.
Mm-hmm.
Can the person whose comments you read, or any other person that is critical of this road, come out with a thread of fact about corruption on the Battle Harden? Because I came in and found Battle hadn't been built. And all these people that are talking today, they were all here. Let them bring me a thread of fact about what they are alleging. I think Musa is rooted in self-hate. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is rooted in self-hate. It's rooted in a deliberate attempt to put this government, in bad light. It is a deliberate attempt to misinform and disinform the people of this country. And any of these people who are making allegations of corruption, let them bring a thread of fact about what they are alleging. And you challenge them on that, they will say, why should we bring, that is your responsibility. For God's sake, come on. If you are making, all these allegations of corruption, if you are making all these allegations of wrongdoing,
mm-hmm.
and yet you, the alleger, can bring a thread of fact about what you are saying, what does that say about you?
Mm-hmm.
Most of these people have credibility issues. Because you cannot go out and then be writing about corruption. You are painting everybody with a black brush. But yet, you cannot even bring a thread of fact about what you are saying. Mm-hmm. Why do you think this government set up the anti-corruption law?
Mm-hmm.
If we are not serious about issues of allegations of corruption. And remember, allegations are very serious issues. When you make allegations, you have to go to court and prove it. How many of them making these allegations today are ready even to come as anonymous suppliers of correct information to government?
But Ibrahima, but Minister Sillah.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
No, hold on. Let me finish. Let me learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can go out and make a scandalous allegation of corruption against a government or public officers, I think it is decent enough if you have those allegations, bring it even as an anonymous person, and then you will see whether anything will not be said about it. But you cannot sit just, you have your pen, you eat your burger, and then you don't know where to emit that. You just go to social media, you accuse everybody of corruption. Is that how things work?
Yeah, but Minister Sillah, do you agree that there is a culture of corruption in the Gambia, public or private? Do you agree that culture of corruption is there? And what people are... Hold on. Let me finish the question. No, hold on.
Let me finish, because you want to bring my opinion in it.
No, hold on.
I don't want to agree or not to agree.
Hold on. But I want to give you an opportunity to address the question, because I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people who believe that there is a culture of corruption in the Gambia, even before this government. During the First Republic, the Second Republic, and currently, Gambians do believe that there is a culture of corruption in the civil service, in the public domain, in the private sector, in our lives. Now, the question now becomes, is this government taking a leadership, and I mean adamant, passionate leadership, fighting this culture of corruption? What are they doing? Go ahead.
You know what? The first thing that we have done, which is laudable, is to enact an anti-corruption law, and in which also, even suppliers of information can go anonymous. Mm-hmm. Sources can be protected. Things are there. So that is laudable. That is a big feat. It's no small feat. Mm-hmm. in governance. It's a bold step. Mm-hmm. Because you know that the fingers are always pointed to the government of corruption. And now if that government comes out to say, please, this is a law that is going to now deal with corruption. Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily even have to go out to say that there is corruption. Please, if you have evidence, bring it anonymously. Mm-hmm. Your source is protected. You are protected under the law. Mm-hmm. I think that is a major achievement. That is a major step in mm-hmm. the right direction. in our governance setup.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Minister Sillah. Sarian.
Thank you.
Yeah, honorable Minister, thank you very much.
Hold on.
I see that you are drifting from the core issue of why I am on this program, which is to talk about my ministry, the Ministry of Transport, Works and
No, but I mean, look at the questions that I asked.
Because I don't want to be here talking about, you know, issues as if that is the only thing that preoccupies this government. We have, a ministry to run. We have, a whole lot of issues to do. As a ministry that we are doing for this country. Talk about those. If you see anything faulty, bring them on so that we clarify them to the people.
But Ibrahima, if we're talking about the Batting Highway, your ministry is responsible for infrastructural development in that country. If people are suggesting that the reason why we have issues is because that falls under your purview, I don't think that is really moving away from your ministries.
No, we're still asking the questions that are basically related to the Ministry of Works, Transportation, and Infrastructure. I mean, if you look, and we're going to double into politics too now. I mean, there's no way we are only going to talk about infrastructure.
If you want to double into politics, with the politicians that
no.
You know, I told you that we for us, we have no vacancy at the Marina Parade. You know, I told you.
But that's where my next question.
Musa, but you're cutting into that.
No, move a little weight. Oh my God!
But I gotta ask he wants the real question about his ministry. Let me ask him that. Then you can continue.
Know. That's why I said go ahead, Mr. Marong.
All right, honorable minister, going back to what Coach asked earlier, and you talk about the municipalities not providing for those impacted, even though they're collecting, fees from those individuals. My question to you is, your ministry and the Ministry of Justice, have you guys collaborate, do a pre-planning in terms of those municipalities that are going to be impacted by this and getting a buy-in, more sort of a pre-planning and says, and if scenario happens, how do we collectively?
I don't think he's hearing you.
Oh,
he's reconnecting. Make the question short.
Oh, there you go, man. The guy who spent 5 minutes, an additional 2 minutes, making 7 minutes.
Minister Sillah is back. Go ahead, Tariang.
Honorable Minister, my question to you is going back to the municipalities, and you talk about how they should support their own. And my question to you is, in terms of the projects that your ministry embarks on, have you guys made a concerted effort to work with those municipalities or local councils in terms of pre-planning, saying, if these folks are impacted, how does our ministry and your local council work together in order to provide for those affected by this demolition?
We had a very strong engagement, which is unfortunate, but the good thing is that we have had some meetings with the Lord Mayor of Kanifing, Talib Bensouda, when they wanted to introduce city transport, and also they wanted to embark on, I think they wanted to do some 30 roads within the KMC. So we were approached and we had a discussion. Right now, many of the little roads that we are doing in either the KMC or the West region actually should have been done by the councils. Those roads like 700 meters, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers within the councils, those things should have been done, because under the road classification program, we have what we call the municipal roads, we have the local roads, we have highways, we have regional roads. So unfortunately, and for some reason, that is not very clear to us. The councils, I don't think, are very keen proper roads, because doing the proper road is extremely very expensive. You see that because of the high water levels in some of these areas, or because of the drainage systems in these areas, you have to do a very good road, either concrete or asphalt, and it's extremely very expensive to do those ones. And that is where, because as a government, we know that also that it is our responsibility to take care of our people, whether the councils do it or not. I mean, we have to step in. But it is also important that the councils sit with the government and say, okay, annually, this is how much money we can contribute to the overall infrastructure in our region. And if government comes in, then we can complement. For example, I see that some of them are doing feeder roads. As a government, since I came in, we have stopped doing feeder roads because it's expensive and there is no value for money in it. The type of laterite that we have in this country, when you have 1 or 2 rains, on the roads and then heavily traffic, the next year you see a lot of potholes. So that is why we make sure that, we graduate from the laterite roads to ensure that we do proper sealing of these roads. It would have been really desirous, if the councils don't see government as a competing entity, to come and sit with us, because at the end of the day, this is our country. We'll be ready to work with anybody that actually supports the overall national development agenda of this government.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, so in terms of the design, though, I'm going to push back a little bit, because the fact that it's not only dishonest in terms of how those, especially the roundabouts, right? So coming from airport area, for example, when towards the petroleum house, that one lane that you come in, and there's an overpass, correct? And most of these taxi drivers don't use it. But what is the thinking? Because all those access roads, there's concrete slabs out of there. And in fact, the businesses on the other side of the road, you can't access those businesses from the main road unless and until you go down past the petroleum house and go through that dirt road to come in. What is the thinking? Because obviously in modern days here, if you're going to go to a roundabout, there's 2 lanes to ease of congestion. But you got that one lane that is coming through, and you got the one that coming from Sukuta, going underneath the overpass, going towards Burfoot. So there's obviously a mess right there. So, I mean, you have the huge area where folks can stand on your right-hand side adjacent to the petroleum house. I don't know. I'm not the architect or whatever, but what are the engineers? But what is the thinking to kind of ease up and help access easy traffic flow underneath the overpass for folks going Senegambia straight or going towards underneath the overpass going towards Burfoot?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. If you go to the Busubi roundabout right now, you will see that the contractor is, working on improving the dual carriage all the way. For example, if you are going to Burfoot from the traffic light, the clinic that is on the highway there on your right, I can't remember the name of the clinic again. The dual carriage is going way, way, way out of above that end. Also coming from Burfoot and then under the overpass going to Sukuta, we are doing the dual carriage there as well, just for I think 180 meters. The reason for this is to ease congestion. I told you the road is not finished. The road is under construction. Yes, we understand all this frustration because people now have the opportunity to drive very fast, and then when everybody drives very fast, we are all appointed along under that overpass there around the roundabout, and then not much faster movement, and it takes about 30 minutes to get out of that mess. That is understood because if everybody is using the side lanes now, if they only one road, one lane, maybe it can be extended from Senegal all the way to Busubi roundabout, but there will be no roundabout there because you'll be flowing. But because the road is not complete, now everybody will use there, will provide there, and then more time will be wasted there. But I can assure you that by the time the road is finished, all these congestion issues that we are talking about will be minimized. Because also between the Dusuri roundabout and Senegambia, there is also a roundabout there. I don't know whether you are in the country in November, December. We had done the opening there. But because people don't know how to use this type of highway facilities, we have been having so many accidents there. That is why that place was closed. It's not finished. You'll be surprised that just last week, the contractor was working on the road. And just one crazy driver came in and then, round the pole and then 4 people were killed on the spot. So these are the type of things that I'm telling you. The road is not finished. So now, all those that are in Senegambia who want to go to, say, Banjul, they'll have to drive all the way from Senegambia, go to the roundabout, and then turn again to go. That was. But there is in the design a roundabout at the between Kusubi and Senegambia at the digital intersection there, the Tibet junction there. So that particular place there will be a roundabout. And then there are going to be other openings between, say, Sukuta junction and also the Kusubi roundabout. So that if you don't have anything to do with, the roundabout, you just turn in and then go wherever you want to go. Side things, right? So that, at the end of the day, if you don't have anything to do with the highway, you'll be driving on the